Hello and welcome to Peaceful Rebellion out in the countryside. Today I'm talking about how words will never ever be able to communicate the truth. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So the other day while I was out running, I was chatting with the emissaries and I said to them, "So what's happening on the world stage?" And they said, "Well, everybody's acting on the world stage." And I said, "So just out of interest, how much of what we see is pretend, is a lie?" And they said, everything. And so I said to them, everything, literally everything. They said, "Remember that everything in this realm is make-believe. It's pretend. It's not real." And they've talked about this before, you know, that this is a virtual reality of an existence. It isn't real, even though, of course, it feels real. It certainly does. So I said to them, "Hey, well, you know, our perception of God, is it anywhere near the truth?" And they said, "No, absolutely not." And I said, "So is our perception, the perception I have of God, is it different to yours up there? Up there, I don't know whether they're up there, then another place." And they said, "Yes, we have a different perception of what God is, what God means." So I said, "Well, could you explain it to me?" And they said, "The thing is, we can tell you in words, but that won't explain what it is." They said the words will fail to describe it. And I said, "Well, try me out and see whether, you know, just tell me what your perception is." And they said, "Okay, so our perception of God is the force that is with us constantly." And these were what they said, that cries when we cry, that laughs when we laugh, that rejoices when we rejoice. A force that communicates with us constantly, that unites us all permanently. And that was it. Right, and I said to them, "Hey, well, that's not that far off from my perception of what God is." And they said, "That's right. And that's because we've used words. And the words do not describe it. They don't communicate." They said the only way that you would know what God means where we are, the meaning of God, would be if you were here. But because we're trying to communicate it with words, the words don't do it justice. And so they said that the truth can never be known through words. The truth can never be known, it can never be felt through words. And this is the issue that we have. We are in this whatever this is, this virtual reality, and we're bound by words, aren't we? And you know, words have been the making of us and the downfall of mankind as well. Because every word that we say means something to you, it means something to me, and it means something completely different to John round the corner. You know, if I say happiness, I know what that means to me. But it could mean something completely different to you. It could mean something completely different to somebody who lives in a village with no electricity and no worldly goods. You know, so it's completely subjective communication. And what the emissary said was, believe that nothing is true. Hold that as a belief. Whether it's true or not, hold it as a belief and it will set you free. And you know, I think there's a passage in the Bible that says the truth shall set you free. And I believe that that's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that there is no truth, that we can't ever see the truth. And by knowing that, it takes such a weight off our minds. It takes a weight off my mind, because I think I don't need to sweat it. I don't need to be asking myself all of the time, but is this real? Is this right? Is this the right thing to do? Is this the wrong thing to do? Is what they're saying true? because I don't believe anything. I believe fuck all. I'm in the countryside and I'm still swearing. Although I've got less desire to swear in the countryside. It's very calming. But I don't believe anything. And it makes it so much easier. Everything's so much easier. There's no pressure. And it also, you know, in some ways people would say, hey, that's a very negative way of living your life, just going around not believing anything. But I find it really positive. I think where the negativity comes in is where somebody picks up an idea, takes it as a belief, and then goes around smashing people over the head with it, or making changes to things that don't need to be changed based on this belief. Whereas if you don't believe anything, you're very slow to action, very slow to acting seriously, taking serious action, if you know what I mean. It doesn't mean that you're slow to action in acting in your life and doing good stuff and helping people. It's a slow to anger, I suppose, slow to vengeance, slow to taking action against something that you perceive to be wrong, only because you don't know whether that's really the case or not. You don't know. And so it makes you pause for thought. This is my point where I turn around and I start going back. Look, here are my dogs coming. So it makes you pause, and it makes you less volatile. So I like it. I like thinking that I don't know. I know fuck all, basically. And you know that the theory of it is knowing nothing, or knowing a lot by way of knowing nothing. You know, the great thinkers of the world, they talk about lots of things, and yet if you really pin them down, they'll say, well, I don't really know. I don't know if it's true. And I hear myself when my son asks me so many questions, so many deep questions, and I'll answer them, and at the end I always have this tag on the end, which is, but however, I could be completely wrong. However, I don't know. And it's like my safety mechanism. Because before, I remember in life, I used to be very sure of things. I used to be very sure of this, and this has got to be the only way. When I was learning, you know, I would learn like different things like palm reading, or I would learn handwriting analysis or statement analysis or whatever. And you learn something and you're given A, B and C. And you say, that's it. A, B and C is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But the more that you look at it, you realize that there's an XYZ, there's an MNLOP, there's all kinds of things. So I've learned that too little information is dangerous. The people who believe that they have the truth don't have enough information. That's all. The people that believe they know everything just don't know enough. Because if you knew enough, you would know that you didn't know. And that's the beauty of somebody who spends their life studying. You know, there was a very famous religious man that Anthony de Mello talks about, who all of his life wrote liturgy after liturgy, and he wrote books and books and books. And then he got to a certain point in his life and he just stopped. He was halfway through a book and he just stopped. And all of his assistants were saying, what's going on? What's going on? And he said, I just don't see the point anymore. And he said, I look back at what I've done all of my life and I'm embarrassed that I wrote thinking that I knew everything and I know nothing. And I think that's where we need to get to, is not knowing anything and knowing a lot. God, I know the amount of time and hours I've spent researching stuff. I know loads of stuff, but I just don't know the truth. You know, and I think that's where we need to be. And that's what the emissaries were saying. On this plane, we haven't got access to the truth. We've only got words. We've only got words and more words and more words. And words will never lead us to the truth. So there you are. I love you all. Thank you for spending this time with me in the country, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.